Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 24 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today is our discussion episodes on the films Mortal Engines and The Mule. And it feels like it's been a little while since we've actually sat down and recorded an episode.
It's because it has.
It's been over a week, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Man, we're
a little behind.
We're a little behind, but I'm finally done with school, so we should be getting more on our regular schedule.
I had to make a trip to Stillwater this weekend, so that hindered us a little bit. That was rude.
Everybody cares, Dylan. I'm sorry. Anyway, so let's get right into our content here. What are your expectations for these two films we're going to be reviewing?
As far as Mortal Engines go, I have a feeling this movie is going to be real bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much hope for it. I found out earlier, about a day or two ago, that this movie was completely mismarketed and that Peter Jackson did not direct it. Because I'm pretty sure all the ads I've seen for this movie were like, from visionary director Peter Jackson or some crap like that. He did not direct this movie.
He is a visionary director. He's just not the visionary director of this film.
He co-wrote the screenplay.
Co-wrote, which means he read it.
He probably read it.
And that was it.
And he is a producer on this film. So he showed up and then he's like, yep, it's a movie. So this movie's going to be bad, I have a feeling. The Mule, though, that looks really good.
Got potential, definitely.
Looks really good. And I'm expecting good things from it, so.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. I'll say Mortal Engines looks like a big, bloated CGI. Bleh.
I have a feeling it'll look good.
It'll probably look good. I don't think it will be good.
No.
And the Mule, I love Clint Eastwood. Looks like a classic Clint Eastwood style film. Probably be at least pretty good. So, with Mortal Engines in mind, we our first top 5 list this week is our top 5 post-apocalyptic films. So, why don't you start us off with your number 5 there?
Right, well, before we start, I'm going to say that this list is probably open to interpretation on whether or not you would consider some of these films post-apocalyptic or not. But these are our picks. So, starting off at number 5 for me is going to be Edge of Tomorrow. This movie I feel like is kind of underrated. It was a pretty big budget action movie with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. And I actually think it's pretty good. It was completely mismarketed too, and that was part of its problem, I think. They didn't really know what they were doing with their marketing campaign, I think, was part of their problem.
Didn't they change the title 3 times?
Yeah, I don't know that they really changed the title, but it went from Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, back to Edge of Tomorrow, then Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, and I think they finally settled on Edge of Tomorrow. So it was really all over the place, and I think that's part of the reason why it didn't do as well as they wanted it to. But I mean, I think it's really good. I think Tom Cruise does a great job. I think Emily Blunt is excellent in this movie. Emily Blunt is pretty good in pretty much everything I've seen her in. Other than that, I mean, I think that it's well made. The action sequences look really good. The story is a neat concept. It's like Groundhog Day meets war, which is kind of cool, and I like that a lot about the movie. But overall, I mean, it's a fun time. It's a great action movie. It's pretty underrated, and I think that Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt both do a good job. So it comes in at my number 5.
Yeah, at number 5 for me, I have The Matrix, the modern day classic. You know, I sat down and watched The Matrix for the first time here. I don't know, maybe a couple years ago now. I wasn't blown away by it, but I think a lot of that is because I have seen every movie that has copied off of it since, so I wasn't as wowed by it. But it is a solid movie. Keanu Reeves does a great job. Lawrence Fishburne does a great job. Even though Hugo Weaving, who is also our main antagonist in this film we're going to be watching this weekend, he does a good job in that, even though it's pretty much regulated to a couple of one-liners like, what does he say? Mr. Anderson. But anyway, it's a really fun time. Really good movie. It's number 5. Me and Dylan had an argument over whether this was post-apocalyptic. And
this movie is open for interpretation.
It's post-apocalypse. I mean, humanity has been pretty much wiped out by the robots, and then what's left, robots have put in these little tubes and is using their, I forget what it is, using their life force as battery power or something.
I don't know.
But that's the apocalypse. Humanity is
it's fair.
Enslaved. I mean, I don't know what you're considering apocalypse.
I don't know. Anyway, coming to number 4 for me is going to be a movie I actually just sat down here recently within the last month and watched for the first time. And that's I Am Legend, which is a Will Smith movie. What do you mean?
Will Smith.
Do you not like Will Smith?
I'm not his biggest fan, no.
Well, I mean, I think this is a pretty good movie. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's kind of like zombie / vampire creatures in this movie, which we've seen a million times, but I think Will Smith does a great job with this movie. He's pretty much the only character in this movie for a good majority of the film.
Yeah, there's the girl and her kid.
She shows up at the very end, though.
Well, not the very, very end. But...
It's like the last 25 minutes of the movie, maybe,
okay.
that she shows up. But I think she does I think Will Smith does a really good job in the movie for pretty much acting this entire thing himself.
And his dog is a character too. I'm sorry.
You know that dog? He actually wanted to adopt the dog at the end of the movie, but the trainer wouldn't let him because he grew so attached to the dog.
But it's Will Smith. You can't tell him no.
Well, they did. But I mean, I really enjoy the movie. I think it's a really good post-apocalyptic movie. Everyone does a great job that's in it. I enjoyed it a lot. Number 4.
Yeah, I will give Will Smith this. I like him a lot better than Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Tom Cruise is a good actor.
Yeah, that's up for debate. Anyway, off topic. Number 4, I have WALL-E.
All right.
The animated Pixar classic epic movie WALL-E. Obviously, it's post-apocalypse. The Earth is in ruins.
Oh, for sure.
What is left of humanity is on like this pleasure cruise where they're all. I love like
they're all fat and in like floating wheelchairs.
Yeah, fat and floating. The commentary is just great. And then WALL-E, I just love WALL-E. He just goes around compacting trash, and then a girl robot shows up and he falls in love, and then they go on this adventure. It's a great, heartwarming, even for me, heartwarming adventure, and it's Pixar at their best, so obviously it's going to be way up there. And so, WALL-E, number 4.
All right, well, coming in at number 3 for me is going to be WALL-E. Everything you've said about this movie is very much true. It's one of Pixar's best. I'd probably put WALL-E right behind the Toy Story franchise as far as Pixar movies go. You definitely can't go wrong with those Toy Story movies. But this is a really solid Pixar movie. It's beautifully animated, as all Pixar movies are. The story is great. It's definitely heartwarming, like you said. I really enjoy it, and the concept of the fact that this robot is like the only robot left on Earth, pretty much. And he just goes around and compacts his little trash into himself and spits out this little cube of trash. It's really cool. And then we meet Eve, and she comes down and meets WALL-E, and they go on this adventure together. And it's just a really fun time. And it's a great Pixar movie. So it comes in at number 3.
Number 3 for me, I have a film from this year, A Quiet Place. I think it's a great movie. Probably my favorite movie this year. Still.
So far, yeah.
So far. We've got a few. I don't think we have any contenders left. Maybe Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, if it's as good as I hear. Maybe Bumblebee. I don't know. Anyway, off topic. A Quiet Place. The movie is amazing what John Krasinski, a first-time director, is able to accomplish with so little sound, so little exposition, and
I don't know about exposition, but dialogue.
Dialogue, that's the word I was looking for. God, I can't think of it. So little dialogue in this movie. And because of the lack of sound, the whole movie is tense. Like, you are like waiting for something to pop out of the whole movie. There's actually only 2 jump scares in the whole movie. But, you're just so tense throughout. And I think it's really amazing that John Krasinski, a first-time director, was able to pull that off. The acting from John Krasinski is really great. The acting from Emily Blunt is really great. She's really great in this movie, and the kid actors are really good. I don't have any problems with them. But yeah, I think it's a great movie, and definitely is up there with my favorite post-apocalyptic. That's a hard word to say.
Apocalyptic
films.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, I actually have A Quiet Place coming at number 2 on my list. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's definitely, I'd say it's probably definitely going to show up in my top 5
favorite films
of this year.
Which will be announced later at the end of this year.
We will talk about those at the end of this year, yeah. It is so great. John Krasinski did an amazing job writing and directing this film. I don't know if you consider him a first-time director. This is his first big directorial debut as far as feature film. He did direct a couple episodes of The Office, but I don't know if you really count that. But this is his big feature film debut as a director, and he does an excellent job with that. And he, like you said, does a great job creating tension in a movie that has no audible dialogue pretty much for the majority of the movie, minus say one, maybe 2 scenes where there's
at the end they start talking quite a bit,
some slight vocal stuff. But it's just great. Visually, this movie is really good. I think that They did a really good job not like showing these creatures like in a full capacity until pretty much the end of the movie. Really kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, and he does a really good job of building tension with that. I think the sound design in that movie is excellent too, because even though there's not a whole lot of audible dialogue in the film, considering the fact that it's completely silent, you can hear every little sound going on in the environment, and it really helps build that tension too. And I think that's really great about this movie. John Krasinski does an excellent job. Emily Blunt, like you said, is even better. They're married in real life. I don't know if you knew that. They're husband and wife.
I was aware.
And they pull off their real life chemistry very well on screen. So the young adult actors in this movie are both good. I don't have any complaints with them either.
Well, they're not young adult actors. They're just kid actors.
She's in her teens, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
20.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Everyone does a great job in this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one of the best of this year, and it is one of the best post-apocalyptic movies that I've seen, so it comes in at number 2.
All right, at number 2 for me, I have Mad Max Fury Road, which is the latest Mad Max film with Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. I had it. I was getting there. But anyway, it's probably the best. I say probably. I put it at the top, so, or at number 2. So it is the best Mad Max film. I'd say Road Warrior is just behind it, like just barely below it. But it's a really great film. Like all the visuals in it are really great. There's not very much dialogue in this film either, especially from Tom Hardy. And really Tom Hardy, who plays Mad Max in the film,
barely the main character of this movie.
I don't even know. Yeah, Charlize Theron steals the show. She's amazing in this movie. I mean, Tom Hardy does a good job too. I mean, I just love this movie, like especially all the the car chases and stuff, and I think the makeup, and especially for the bad guy, I forget what his name is, but all the makeup effects and everything for him, and what's Nicholas Holt or however you say his name, his character is pretty cool. But just all around a really good movie, and that's why I got it coming in at number 2.
Yeah, man, I got Mad Max Fury Road actually coming in at my number 1. George Miller and his entire Mad Max franchise is up there as far as the post-apocalyptic movies go.
Except for Thunderdome, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But as far as the Mad Max movies go, this is definitely the best one. This movie is visually stunning. Oh, yeah. Cinematography in this movie is crazy excellent. I mean, it's one comment I've heard about it that I would totally agree with after the first time I watched it. You can almost 100% understand what's going on in the story just by watching it. That's how well it's made, and that's very true considering the fact that there's like you said, there's not a whole lot of dialogue in this movie either. What little dialogue there is good from the actors that are giving it. I mean, Tom Hardy does a great job in this movie. Charlize Theron as Furiosa is excellent. Probably the best part about this movie, in my opinion. As far as I'm aware, I think she's still supposed to be in the next Mad Max movie, but I'm not really sure if that's been confirmed or not, because they've kind of flopped back and forth on what that next Mad Max movie is going to be. But this movie is excellent, well made. CGI, what is CGI in this movie, is excellent. Special effects in general are 100% amazing. Everything about this movie is really good, and that's why it comes in at number 1.
Well, for number 1 for me, I have Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It's the best Terminator film. It just edges out the first one. And I love it. I mean, I've loved it ever since I was a kid watching it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, his best film, his best performance, even though I guess I don't know how much of a performance it is. But and then, of course...
Linda Hamilton, God. I can't think of names when I need to. Linda Hamilton, by far her best performance in any movie I've watched her in. I mean, I don't know what else we got to compare it to. King Kong Lives. Yeah, the first Terminator. Children of the Corn. She's returning for this new one. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I love this movie. I love the T2 Terminator, the Liquid Terminator. It's amazing. In 1991, I believe, was when this movie was made, what James Cameron was able to do with CGI. I mean, the CGI in T2 holds up better than some CGI that came, 20 years later. So, I mean, really impressive there. But it's James Cameron. I mean, what can you expect?
I mean, it's James Cameron. Yeah, that's right. All around, just a great film. So, yep, got it coming in at number 1.
All right. Well, I think that ends our post-apocalyptic movies. So, in honor of the Mule, we're gonna do a top 5 drug-related movies, since the Mule's supposed to center, around
drug trafficking.
Clint Eastwood being a drug mule or a drug trafficker. So we're gonna do drug-related movies or movies that contain drugs.
Dylan would not let me do a top 5 Clint Eastwood film.
I have not seen enough Clint Eastwood films, and I know that's a sin.
Whose fault is that?
My own and my parents.
And my parents. Okay, whatever.
We didn't watch a whole lot of Clint Eastwood movies when I was a kid, so.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I'll start off with my number 5. I've got The Big Lebowski, a film I've watched for the first time here just a few months ago. Honestly, can't say I was blown away by it, but it is entertaining with John Goodman and Jeff Bridges and everybody else that's in the movie. Just just being weird. And he goes on this. He's a stoner bowler. I'm gonna coin that term. And Sam Elliott cracks me up when he shows up, just like to narrate the movie or whatever. But he's a bowler who's also a stoner, and he's given this briefcase with something in it.
Well, the problem is that he's mistaken for a different person.
Yeah.
Who's supposed to have this money, and he ends up going to see the person that it's actually about, and ends up in this whole big mess. And oh man, it's just
it's a fun movie. So I got it coming in at number 5. How about you?
I also have The Big Lebowski coming at number 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. My dad has talked about this movie for years upon years, and I finally sat down to watch it about a year or two ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of the OG stoner comedies. It's just a really fun time. I mean, Jeff Bridges, like you said, is he's a stoner bowler, as you want to call him, and he is great in this movie. Some of the lines in this movie are some of my all-time favorite lines I think I've ever heard in a movie, and they kill me every time I hear them. In this movie, Jeff Bridges' character goes by the name The Dude.
The Dude.
He also has this entire scene where he goes, "Don't call me Mr. Lebowski, you can call me The Dude, El Dunarito, his dudeness," and a bunch of other stuff. And my dad likes to quote this movie, and it's just so funny. John Goodman has a lot of great scenes in this movie. He goes off on Steve Buscemi at one point in time, and he goes, "You're out of your element, Donnie. You're out of your element." And
when he goes in and beats up
and he goes in,
car.
he just goes in and beats up that guy and like pulls out a gun and threatens to pistol whip him. Oh man! But this is a Coen Brothers movie, and it's definitely made in Coen Brothers fashion. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a great time. So it's my number 5.
Number 4 for me is 21 Jump Street, starring Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. Actually, one of Channing Tatum's better movies, maybe his best. I don't know.
I really enjoy this movie.
And Jonah Hill, one of his better movies. They, just two guys who are rookie cops going around doing stupid stuff. And it's actually, I'm usually not a big fan of comedies. I know my first 2 films on here are being comedies. But it's actually pretty funny. All the stuff with Jonah Hill, especially. Channing Tatum. I keep saying Tatum. I don't know.
Why can't you speak?
Channing Tatum, he's not the funniest man to ever walk the face of the earth, but he does a pretty good job here alongside Jonah Hill, keeping up with the jokes and everything. It's just a really fun buddy cop film. One of the better buddy cop films out there. So that's my number 4.
All right. Coming at number 4 for me is going to be a Martin Scorsese movie, and that's going to be The Wolf of Wall Street, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill. Aaron has never seen this movie.
No, I have not.
He is not a Leo fan.
I try to avoid Leo.
I don't know why. He is in a lot of great movies.
He's in a few great ones that are great despite him, not because of him.
He's in a lot of great movies. But this movie is one of his better ones. I really enjoy this movie. It's a comedy and a drama all in the same movie. It's got comedic elements, but I guess you would consider it more a drama. But it's centered around a true story about Jordan Belfort, who is basically a stock market mogul who finds a way to manipulate the stock market in a way to make himself very, very wealthy. And he does just that, but he does not go about it a very legal way. And along the way, we have lots of drugs, and there's a lot of sex and a lot of other stuff in this.
Drugs, sex, and rock and roll.
Oh, for sure. This is the epitome. But it is great. It's well made. The story is I don't know exactly how the true story goes, but I mean, as far as this goes, I mean, it's a well-written story, and it's well played out. Leonardo DiCaprio does an excellent job in this movie. Jonah Hill does an excellent job in this movie. It's probably one of Jonah Hill's best roles. Margot Robbie, in one of her first roles after she came to America, she is excellent in. But overall, I mean, it's just a really good movie. I'd say it's one of my favorite Martin Scorsese movies that I've seen, which isn't very many, but it's really good. Number 4.
Number 3, I have the Quentin Tarantino classic, Pulp Fiction. Again, I like this movie. I can't say I was absolutely blown away the first time I saw it.
You're not a huge Tarantino fan.
No, I sat down off topic a little bit. I sat down and watched Kill Bill Volume 1 the other day on Netflix.
I like that movie.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I liked it. I didn't love it, but it is like the perfect showcase of my main issue. Not so much with Tarantino and how he makes his movies, but when people say Tarantino is one of the greatest filmmakers ever. What Tarantino does, especially evident in Kill Bill, is he takes these old movie tropes, modernizes them, and then like makes it ultra violent and calls it a movie. And he does that with pretty much every movie, with the same actors, over and over and over again. And I'm not saying it's not good, it's entertaining, but that doesn't make him a great filmmaker, in my opinion.
He is, though. Name a truly bad Tarantino movie.
Well, there's not one. I'm not saying there's
Exactly.
a bad Tarantino movie. I'm just saying I don't know if they're great. I don't think they're great.
There are some great Tarantino movies. I would have to argue that Django Unchained is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I haven't watched it.
Inglourious Basterds is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it's a Tarantino movie.
I mean, that's stretching it, but it's pretty good.
That's a really good movie.
I'm saying.
Christoph Waltz is excellent in that movie. Okay?
I don't.
Jamie Foxx is excellent in Django Unchained, and so is Christoph Waltz again.
I don't hate any of his movies. I just think that there may be a little. Anyway, back to Pulp Fiction. But Pulp Fiction is a fun time. It's one of those movies in classic Tarantino fashion. It's not told in chronological order.
Oh, of course not.
And it's an anthology movie, so all these different storylines kind of intermingle.
But don't at the same time.
But most of them, I think, by the end of it, have crossed somewhere. And Samuel Jackson and John Travolta and Bruce Willis and Uma Thurman all give great performances. Nothing wrong there. And it is a fun time, so I got Pulp Fiction at number 3.
All right, well, coming at number 3 for me is going to be Sicario from a couple years ago. Another movie that we're going to talk about that has Emily Blunt in it. She does an amazing job in this movie, as well as Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin. Mm-hmm. The story behind this is really neat. It's definitely centered around, the drug cartel, and it's excellent. This movie is very well filmed. Cinematography is excellent. Sound is excellent. I even like the score for this movie. It's pretty good. Definitely gives it a little bit added extra tension at certain points in time. But that's really, I know you have it on your list too, so I'll let you talk about it.
Well, I don't have it next, actually. I have number 2, Scarface,
right.
the Al Pacino movie. I sat down and watched this for the first time again not too long ago. It's a long movie, but I was really entertained. His story from going from a nobody to the drug kingpin is really really thrilling, really interesting. I love all the subplots in the movie about how he's kind of got this thing for his sister, but then he gets jealous of his partner who marries his sister and kills his sister's husband, and he gets all caught up in this drug empire, and he gets a little too aggressive, a little too greedy, and ends up getting killed by other drug people. But anyway, this story from beginning to end is really good, and it is really entertaining. Of course, it has the classic line, "Say hello to my little friend." I mimicked that terribly, but yeah, really great movie. Coming in at my number 2. What do you got, number 2? Or number 1?
Before I get into number 1, speaking of Scarface, I just found this out just now.
Now. While he was Googling while we are recording a podcast.
There is a Scarface remake in production.
Ew, that's gross.
Directed by Antoine Fuqua.
I don't know who it is.
He did The Magnificent Seven.
That's alright.
Written by the Coen brothers.
And starring, that's the big question.
As of right now, Diego Luna, who plays Cassian in Rogue One.
Yeah, I know. Huh.
Interesting.
Maybe.
I like Antoine Fuqua.
Yeah, maybe.
He did The Equalizer and Magnificent Seven. The Equalizer was really good. Magnificent Seven was okay.
I haven't watched The Equalizer, but
it's really good. It's a good Denzel movie. Anyway, get into number 1. Or what am I at? I'm at number 2.
Okay.
Number 2 for me is going to be Pulp Fiction. I thoroughly enjoy Quentin Tarantino movies, as we have come to find out many a times as we've talked about them. This is a great movie. I really enjoy the story of this. And I like how, like you said, it's definitely anthology and very non-linear, and how all these stories kind of somewhat converge at some point in time. This is probably my second or third favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It's very well made, very well written, very well acted, especially on Samuel L's part and John Travolta's part. Uma Thurman does an excellent job in this movie. Bruce Willis does an excellent job in this movie. Even Quentin Tarantino shows up in this movie, and he does a good job with what he's given himself. So, overall, I really enjoy Pulp Fiction. It's a great time. Number 2.
All right, my number one is Sicario. That I think you had at number three.
Yeah.
I watched this again for the first time here recently. You know, I was surprised going in this movie. I didn't know much about this movie going in, but I just knew that Benicio del Toro had like got a lot of acclaim for it. But I was kind of shocked to find out that Benicio del Toro is not the main character in this film until the very end, when it all of a sudden switches to him to be the main character. But it is Emily Blunt's character, who I can't remember her character's name, but she is the main character throughout the film. She has significantly more screen time than Benicio del Toro, and I like her character. I like her character's arc. Of course, she's a great actress. She does a great job in this movie. But really, the moment or the scene that sold it for me as one of my favorite movies, maybe ever I've ever watched, is the end scene where Benicio del Toro kind of awkwardly, I think, takes over as the main character for the final 10 minutes or whatever. But he goes up to the drug lord's house and like sits down at the table with the drug lord and his family, and then just straight up shoots the drug lord's two really young kids and his wife as revenge. And then does he kill the drug lord too, or does he just leave him alive?
It's been a hot minute since I've seen that movie, so I don't really remember.
I think he kills the drug lord too. I can't remember if he left him alive to have to deal with it. I think he killed the drug lord too.
Yeah.
Anyway, he kills this whole guy's family, just cold-blooded out of revenge. And then he goes back to the Emily Blunt's apartment and basically threatens her to make her sign this, I guess this like statement or whatever, saying that she didn't see what she really saw. And anyway, it's a great movie. Like I said, three great performances, because Josh Brolin does a great job as well. And I just really loved it, so I got it coming in number one on my drug-related films.
All right, coming in number one for me is one I sat down and watched about a year, maybe 2 years ago, and it is a Stanley Kubrick movie, and that's going to be A Clockwork Orange. As pretty much every Stanley Kubrick movie that I have seen is excellently made. I mean, expertly made.
Even Eyes Wide Shut?
I have not seen Eyes Wide Shut, actually.
Neither have I. I just heard it's probably his least good one.
It was his last one. It came out after he died. So.
Also, it has Tom Cruise, so that's probably the problem.
It might be the problem, but I don't know. But A Clockwork Orange, this movie is excellent. It is definitely out there. You might even consider this on your post-apocalyptic list if you wanted to, because it's kind of set in a dystopian future. Mm-hmm. But Malcolm McDowell, in one of his first roles, is excellent as our lead character, Alex, who is part of this gang in Europe. And he kind of gets captured by this group, and they try to reform him into a good person. But, I mean, overall, it's a really trippy movie. It's some of Stanley Kubrick's finest work, excellently made. Cinematography in this movie is excellent. One thing you'll notice in a lot of Stanley Kubrick movies is he really loves symmetry, like dead accurate, like symmetrical, like stuff like split right down the middle of the screen. It's perfect. But I mean, this movie is amazing. I really enjoy it. One of the standout scenes in this movie that you will never listen to Singing in the Rain the same way is a scene where he is singing it and he is brutally destroying this man in his own home, and it is you'll never hear that song the same way after seeing that scene. So it's my number one.
All right, so the moment all of our listeners are being waiting for,
we got to get into our news.
Time for the news section, and of course,
drum roll.
I don't know how to do drum roll, but
top of the list.
Top of the list, obviously, the Avengers trailer, Avengers Endgame. Title was revealed. So I guess I'll just hand it over to you. What did you think? Was it the best 2 minutes and 24 seconds of your life?
I don't know if it's the best 2 minutes and 24 seconds of my life. I think it's a really good trailer. I think it did a really good job of showing just enough.
Yeah, to get us
but not
excited.
too much. A lot of people I've talked to that have seen this trailer have said it's not it's kind of a letdown as far as the trailer goes. It's not as big a hype or like a big thing as the Infinity War trailer was. But I mean, it's got a very somber tone to it. I mean, we start off with Tony Stark. He's, recording a message on his helmet, on his Iron Man helmet to Pepper, who we don't know is alive or dead at this point. There's no telling. We start off with that, but the entire trailer is like pretty somber. I mean, we go through all these people talking about, 50% of the universe's population is wiped out. 50% of all creatures in the universe are gone. We're all that's left. We have to find a way to fix this or go on, and then it just goes from there. But it's an excellent trailer. I mean, I wish they wouldn't have done the whole waiting on the title thing. I thought that was kind of dumb. As far as titles go, I mean, it's a good title, Avengers Endgame, But it was one of the two big running theories for the last, I don't know, 6 months since that movie came out.
Yeah,
whether or not it was going to be Annihilation or Endgame.
I liked Annihilation better, honestly.
I don't know why they couldn't have just said the title. Like they were like, Endgame is going to really spoil the plot of the movie if you reveal the title, was what the Russo brothers said. And I'm like, how does Endgame spoil anything?
But
Doctor Strange says it in Infinity War, which I guess is why they went with that. But
what's bad is that they... the Russo brothers came out and said, I think on 2 separate occasions, said Endgame is not the title. Liars.
But I mean, it's a really good trailer. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I have a few things I want to talk about. First of all, so for a while, especially after the first couple of times I watched it, I was like, so did Nebula just leave Tony Stark on that planet to die, or on that ship to die? But after a few watches and also a YouTube breakdown video, we do see Nebula in a couple of quick shots in the trailer. One where she's standing on a ship, and one where she puts her hand on somebody's shoulder. It's never definitively shown to us that it's the same ship as Tony Stark, and that she's putting her hand on Tony Stark's shoulder. But I think we're pretty much left to assume that they are on the same ship. It's kind of weird because it just makes you think he's by himself from that opening monologue he has when he's recording that message. But I do think they're on the same ship. I don't think she's concerned about it because I think she can survive without oxygen and food probably for an extended period of time.
She's a cyborg.
Because she's a cyborg. But yeah, that also, I'm not a big Ant-Man fan, and I'm afraid that he may wreck this movie tonally, because even from the trailer, like the whole trailer's somber until the very end when the Ant-Man shows up and starts cracking joke. Like, I don't like Paul Rudd or Ant-Man, but
you don't like a lot of people.
This is true. I am excited to see Hawkeye back. That's a big thing. I know a lot of fans were upset he wasn't in Infinity War.
He's back.
One big omission, obviously, that I don't think I've heard a lot of people talking about. Captain Marvel is nowhere to be seen in that trailer, and we are to assume that Captain Marvel is going to play a very big role in this movie. We know that time travel is probably going to play a huge role, which I don't really like that idea, but I mean, I knew it was coming. My big worry about this movie is that they're going to spend all of it undoing what happened last movie.
That's literally the point.
And actually, I read an article, or at least skimmed over an article, I think you just saw it a while ago, that said, could Endgame be the Last Jedi? And essentially in the article, I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote it. The person who wrote it argues that, well, first of all, I mean, I kind of disagree with them, because they argue that The Last Jedi is a great movie, but it just simply couldn't live up to all the fans' expectations and fan theories about what was going to happen, and that's why fans didn't like it. I disagree. I think The Last Jedi is a poorly written movie, but an argument for another time. But essentially, their argument is, will the hype for Endgame, like The Last Jedi, just be so through the roof, and the expectations be so through the roof, especially following a really successful predecessor, just like The Last Jedi did in The Force Awakens? Will the movie just simply not be able to survive those expectations? I think is valid questions. Can they follow up Infinity War, especially that shocking ending, with a film that equals that or lives up to that, or could even surpass that? I don't think so, because I think with that ending, one line that I heard somebody say about that ending not long after Infinity War came out was that he said that Disney or Marvel wrote a check that they couldn't cash, and I think that's a great analogy. They killed off all these characters that you just simply know can't stay dead. So essentially what I think is going to happen in this movie is basically the original Avengers, who are all still alive, most of them are going to trade their lives for the new ones to survive. Which, I mean, is still
that's one of my biggest problems with the concept of this new Avengers movie too. That last one was just so great. Infinity War was so great, but this movie, like you said, I mean, I know essentially that, I mean, that's what we were getting ourselves into after the ending of that movie, that the next one is going to be spent completely undoing everything that we've done. My biggest problem with the fact that they're going to completely undo everything they've done is it's going to completely take away any emotional weight of the previous film.
Yeah, like 2 years down the road, you can just pop in the DVD and be
in Infinity War, we had a really great scene between Thanos and Gamora, where he has to sacrifice her life in order to get the Soul Stone, a soul for a soul.
And the directors have already told us how she's coming back.
It's a great scene, but she's gonna come back in this new movie.
The
It
directors
completely takes away any emotional weight of that scene.
The directors have already told us how she's coming back. They said that her soul is in the Soul Stone, so we know that basically when they break the Soul Stone or whatever, her soul's gonna come back out. I guess she's gonna magically reappear or something. And yeah, just like that scene, and of course the ending when they all disappear.
Like everyone disappearing. I mean, there's some great scenes. I mean, the Spider-Man scene with Tony Stark. I mean,
that hurt me. That hurt me real much.
I don't feel so good.
I don't want to go.
I don't want to go. That's a great scene.
That's the most emotional movie scene I've seen this year.
And it's going to be completely undone because Spider-Man's going to be back in this movie, although he is not credited on the IMDb page as of right now.
He has his own Spider-Man,
and he's got a movie that comes out that's supposed to be set after Avengers Endgame.
Yeah,
so I mean, obviously we know he's coming back, so that completely takes away all that. But like I said, just everything about this new movie is going to completely wreck the emotional trauma that we went through at the end of that movie. I mean, that movie just ended on such a hard-hitting, really, really dark and somber note. I mean, even the credits of that movie were just like, it wasn't like any other Marvel movie I've ever seen. It was just credits until right after all the actors scroll across and we got the Avengers theme and the Avengers Infinity War fading into dust. That was excellent.
I love in the trailer when the Marvel Studios logo pops up and it like goes into dust.
Oh, in the new trailer, that's great. Yeah, but I mean, it has the potential to be an excellent movie, and I think it will be an excellent movie. Don't get me wrong; it'll be a really great movie, and I'll enjoy all supposed 3 hours of it. And I will love every single second of it. But it's gonna take away so much away from the last film, and it might even degrade that film in some ways, considering the fact that we're just completely undoing everything that we've done in this past film.
Another big question I have, is Thanos the primary antagonist?
I don't think he's supposed to be the primary antagonist.
All we see of him in the trailer is
he
set up his armor like in a scarecrow,
yeah.
I believe, which is like a thing from the comics. And he's just walking through his little cactus field or
with
whatever that is.
Scorched Infinity Gauntlet on.
Yeah. So, I mean, is he...
As far as what I've read and heard, he's not the main antagonist in this movie.
Do we know who the main antagonist is?
I think that they're going to go with Time. Time is the antagonist in this movie.
Like, a character named Time?
No. Time.
Time itself?
Time.
That's an interesting concept. Like, I don't feel like... I mean, that could be... I don't feel like you need, like, this evil alien necessarily. Like,
either that or I've also heard some theories that maybe Death will
I think,
show up.
we talked about that a little bit before about Death.
Yeah.
But, like, just the fact that there's a race against time could be...
It's a neat concept.
But they're going to have to go fight Thanos eventually because they got to get the time stone back from him, I would assume. I mean, I don't know, though.
I don't know.
I mean, the Russo brothers are the only people that know, I guess, and the people that helped make that movie. But
I mean, trailer's good, though. I like it.
Yeah, overall, trailer, I'd give the trailer a B+.
It's a solid trailer. A lot of expectations. Some of them might not be met. I think that's a very valid point that might not live up to the hype.
I've got to keep my expectations under control because I was so crushed walking out of the theater of The Last Jedi because I had like so much emotional investment in that movie, and then when it wasn't what I thought, I was sad. I don't know that
longer always means better either. So I mean,
yeah, longer does not.
It could possibly be, this 3 hours might not help it, or
might not help it.
But I mean, I have a feeling that 3 hours isn't going to hurt this movie.
I don't think it's going to hurt this movie.
Now, 152 minutes in a Star Wars movie called The Last Jedi did not help it.
Did not help it at all. They could have cut out a solid 30 minutes.
A solid 20 or 30 minutes of that movie.
Anyway, speaking of trailers, obviously, there was another Godzilla trailer. Since we last, and so basically this one, I guess the big question is immediately, did it improve my anticipation of the film or did it hurt it? And I'm going to say, after several viewings and a lot of thinking about it, I'm going to say I'm about the same, maybe a little less, because I do have concerns after this trailer. If you've watched it, I mean,
I think this trailer shows too much.
It shows a lot of the monsters. I mean, well, it shows the 4 that we know are going to be in the film. It also shows 2 glimpses of what we assume are 2 different new monsters. One with like what look like legs coming out of the ground and engulfing an oil field. Just as a fan, if you care, I think, and a lot of fans think that's going to be Kumonga, which is a giant spider from the Godzilla films. And then the one coming out of the ground, I think is either going to be Anguirus or Baragon. I would put my money on Anguirus just because he's a lot more popular among fans. But anyway, It shows a lot of the monsters. You get to see exactly what Godzilla, Rodan, Ghidorah, and Mothra look like. Some of my concerns, some of the CGI,
It did look questionable there at the end for sure.
looks spotty. The scene where it's like a wide angle shot of Ghidorah and Godzilla facing off, like, I don't know, towards the middle of the trailer, looked kind of sketchy. And then there at the end when Godzilla and Ghidorah are charging at each other, I thought the motion, I don't know, looked a little odd, a little off. But some scenes look beautiful, like beautifully animated, so or computer generated. So I don't know.
Well, we will see.
We'll see. Did you have any thoughts on it?
I mean, like I said, I think it almost showed too much. I think we could have gone without seeing a complete full glimpse of Ghidorah in this trailer.
Yeah.
I think that would have been really good had they kept it like, shadowed like they did in the previous trailer. I mean, we kind of know that Ghidorah is going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
But we didn't need to see Ghidorah in action. I think they should have saved that for the movie.
Yeah.
We could have just seen glimpses of Rodan and glimpses of Mothra. We didn't need to see Rodan in action flying around or whatnot, but I don't have a huge problem with that. I mean, it does kind of show too much, but I mean, if we're really thinking about it, if it showed too much and I didn't want to see all these characters or these monsters, why wouldn't I just watch the first trailer? Because it does exactly what I wanted it to.
Yeah, I think the first trailer was better as a movie trailer, but
yeah, I mean,
it still doesn't reveal much about the human plot. Like, we still don't know the
don't know a whole lot about it.
Which, I don't know. I've heard concerning things about the human plot, but I won't get into those. That's because it's speculation and rumors at this point. But anyway, moving on from Godzilla. We said in our episode last week that Kevin Hart had been announced or last week. I think I just published it a couple of days ago.
The last discussion episode we talked about.
That Kevin Hart had been announced as host of the Oscars. Now, by the time I published that episode, it had already come out that he had stepped down. But because of some questionable past tweets that he has tweeted, Twitter has gotten a lot of famous people in trouble.
James Gunn.
Famous people beware. If you got old tweets,
be careful.
Be careful. I mean, I guess we'll just briefly talk about it. Do you think he should or should not have stepped down?
Without getting too in depth, I mean, I think I don't really agree with it. Just like I don't really agree with the whole James Gunn thing.
Yeah.
Yes, the tweets are...
They're offensive.
They're offensive. But they're also from like 10 years ago. They're from 8 years ago.
I think 2011 or something, yeah.
Yeah, they're from 8 years ago, basically. Almost a decade ago. People change a lot in 10 years, or can change a lot in 10 years, and I don't think Kevin Hart is probably quite the same person that he was 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was pretty early on in his career.
Just like with the whole James Gunn thing. I mean, those tweets are from like 10 or 12 years ago, I think.
I think maybe longer.
Yeah, like 10 or 12 years ago, and Marvel and Disney knew about these tweets before the first Guardians film came out. James Gunn publicly apologized for those tweets. Though those tweets are bad, I've read those tweets. Those are
really bad.
They're terrible. But knowing stuff about James Gunn, he's got a very, very dark and twisted sense of humor. And
don't let me forget, I forgot to put his movie on here for us to talk about too.
Okay. James Gunn's got a very dark and twisted sense of humor, and his tweets that he tweeted reflected that. They are bad,
and they're
from 10 to 12 years ago. And I mean, if you're, like I said, a person can change a lot in that time span, and I don't think that you should, especially the fact that he came out and publicly apologized for these tweets, and Disney and Marvel both already knew about him, that they should resurface 6 years later and then ruin someone's career.
Well, and to be clear, James Gunn got fired. Kevin Hart stepped down.
Kevin Hart stepped down so he didn't get fired.
I'm not sure if the Oscars would have kicked him off.
No, they were saying that they wanted him. They were going to fire him or he could step down, I think is what happened.
Okay, I mean...
So he chose to step down.
And yeah, I basically agree with you. It is kind of the same thing with the James Gunn thing. I don't think he should have... I mean, not that I really care anyway. I wouldn't have been watching the Oscars one way or the other, so I don't really care that much who hosts it. But I don't think he should have stepped down because of that. I mean, like I said, I know that they are offensive, and he shouldn't have tweeted them. But by, just... basically bullying him into stepping down, I don't think solving any problems. But, his career will survive.
He'll be okay.
He'll be okay. So, on to the next thing. Okay, so I brought up James Gunn. I think it was kind of a surprise trailer drop they dropped the trailer for this movie called Brightburn. I freaking love it.
Jesus Lord Almighty.
He's a producer. He's like the executive producer or something. But
Oh,
basically, it is
God.
I mean, not basically.
It's evil Superman.
It's the Superman story. They don't call him Superman. They call him Brightburn. But it's a Superman if Superman was evil, and it's a horror movie. It's not not like an anti-hero movie. It's a straight up horror movie. And you know what? It's got Elizabeth Banks and the guy that plays the guy from The Office. I forgot his name, but Pam's ex-boyfriend. Anyway, they're in it as husband and wife, and they're basically playing the Pa and Ma Kent. And little Brightburn falls from the sky.
And they pick him up and they raise him, and they find out he is a destructive person.
Yes, very bad.
And he's evil, and it's literally Superman.
I love
Superman was evil,
because Superman has like the red glowing laser beams, and sometimes his eyes glow red, and like that's like his eyes are glowing red all the time when he's like going out killing people. It's just
this movie's gonna be bad.
I don't know if it's gonna be bad. It might be good.
It's gonna be bad.
It might be good.
No.
Why you gotta be judgmental like that, Dylan?
That movie's gonna be bad. Is it a horror movie?
I mean, they're claiming it's a horror movie. It's probably like a horror. What do you call them? A horror comedy.
It's not gonna be a horror comedy.
Next
thing we got something that Aaron cares about that I could honestly, if we're being 100% honest, I could care less about.
Don't be rude, Dylan. A Downton Abbey trailer.
Oh my gosh. Downton Abbey, guys.
Yeah, actually, you know what?
I've never seen the show.
Downton Abbey is a show that I did not think that I would ever want to watch or like. But my senior English teacher sat down and made us watch a few episodes. And I was like, hey, you know what? That show's actually pretty good. So after my senior English class, I actually bought the show, and me and my mother sat down and watched the whole show. And you know what? I actually really liked it. It was surprising enough. And so, yeah, I am excited about this movie. I'm excited to see what they do with all these characters after the show. It's been a little while since I watched the show. I might need to do some refreshing on it. But I'm excited about it. I guess, Dylan couldn't care less. He's on his phone right now while I talk about it.
Yeah, I really don't care. I've never seen Downton Abbey, and honestly, it doesn't really interest me a whole lot.
It's just a teaser trailer. It doesn't show much, but yeah. What about Sonic the Hedgehog? You a big Hedgehog fan? Sonic Hedgehog?
Never really played a whole lot of Sonic. I mean, I played it a couple times. I mean, it's a fun time the few times I've played it as a kid. I mean, it's a Sega classic.
Yeah, they officially announced that it's coming out. I forget the date now.
But as far as video game movie adaptations go, especially ones like that, I don't have a whole lot of hope.
He is one of the most famous video game characters on Earth.
They made a Mario movie, okay, and it was terrible.
Didn't even watch it.
It's garbage. That's literally I would almost say that's the most iconic video game character of all time. Probably. Mario. If you can't do that right, you're just done for.
Speaking of movies being confirmed, Venom 2, which we knew this opening weekend when it was a big hit that it was going to be.
When it made a lot of money.
When it was going to have a sequel.
But it's officially been confirmed.
But, yeah, and they're talking about maybe having Spider-Man cameo in this one.
Yeah, I saw that.
And, of course, I assume that the storyline will follow up on their end-credit scene.
Oh, yes.
With
Woody Harrelson as Carnage.
There's going to be carnage.
I'm honestly, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I am too. I think it's
going
to be ridiculous, but I think it'll be fun ridiculous.
Gosh, Cletus Cassidy, that red wig might have to go.
I don't know. I loved it.
It's just so I can't take him serious with the red wig.
I don't know if you're supposed to, but I don't know. I'm honestly excited. I didn't hate that first movie. It was bad, but it was fun bad.
It's not bad. It's not
bad.
Good.
It's fun bad.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if it's bad. It is not as bad as critics were saying. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll give it. I mean, it was better than most DCEU films, I think.
It's not saying much.
It's more fun than most DCEU films.
Yeah, it's not as dark and depressing either.
I mean, it's pretty dark, but not tonally.
It takes place at night. That's to cover up their questionable CGI.
Yeah.
But Venom 2, maybe, dear Lord God above, please let this movie be rated R.
That would be nice, but I doubt it.
They need this movie. If they're gonna do Carnage and do Carnage right, they need it to be rated R.
Yeah, but I still think they're too afraid of losing out on their audience.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the last thing we really want to talk about. There's a new Pixar film announced with Chris Pratt and
Chris Pratt.
I said Pat.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt and Tom Holland and some other people I don't remember. And it's called Onward, and I guess basically it's about these elves that go on an adventure of some sort.
Brother elves.
Elf brothers.
They are elven.
Elven.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm excited.
I like Chris Pratt. I like Tom Holland.
I really like Tom Holland. Chris Pratt, I really liked him after the first Jurassic World. It's kind of gone downhill since, but the first Guardians of the Galaxy and the first Jurassic World, and then
even the second Guardians, but the new Jurassic World movie, you could take that.
Everybody's bad in that. But
I
anyway,
feel like no one was there for that movie. They were just like, okay, guys, paycheck time. I don't know. I like Pixar movies.
I haven't seen the last one, Coco. I
have not seen Coco. We'll have to watch that one. I think that's on Netflix. Yeah.
We gotta take it before Disney starts their own thing and takes it off.
Well, nothing will be officially leaving Netflix until the end of 2019. I think is what they've said.
Okay, we gotta watch.
But nothing will be added after like mid 2019. I think that's from Disney or Marvel or anything like that. So
okay, so
let's talk about
upcoming Mortal Engines review should be out sometime. The Mule review also should be out sometime soon after this week.
After that, we will week after that we're going to be doing Bumblebee and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which we're hearing good things about both of those films, surprisingly.
And then the next one, Aquaman and Mary Poppins. I think that's our last two movies of this calendar year.
That is our last two movies this year. We got a lot of big stuff planned for next year. We're really excited.
We will do a end of the year episode where we talk about top 5 favorite, top 5 least favorite, most underrated, most overrated.
And then at the very beginning of the new year, we should have a discussion episode, I think, that actually comes out on January 1st. We'll try to talk about our
top 5 most anticipated.
And we'll do
maybe a top 5 least anticipated.
We might. We'll look at it, and then we will also be doing a top 5 list of our goals and hopes for this new year. So
yeah, I just looked into starting a website. Turns out your web hosting service expects you to pay for like 3 years worth up front. Ouch. But anyway, we will look into getting a website. Obviously, we're working on a studio, kind of sort of studio-ish. A better recording area where we can record ourselves. And
yes,
what we really need, I think, honestly, is a second mic. I think that would really help our audio quality.
It probably would.
But
that costs money we don't have right now.
Yes, we could cost money. But I'm not going to ask for any money from the listeners because I am not that kind of person.
No.
Because I don't think our content's that good.
Not yet.
But
we got a lot of potential, though, I think.
We are filled to the brim with potential.
I mean, we are, 24 episodes in, and we've been at it for less than 2 months, I think, at this point in time, or right at 2 months at this point in time.
Right before Halloween came out, so about 2 months.
Right about 2 months. So, I mean, I think what we've accomplished in 2 months is pretty impressive. As far as it goes and content goes, I think we've had our ups and downs with certain episodes. Our Creed review, it took off.
It took off real big.
Thank you to everyone out there who has listened to that.
It has over 100 listens.
That's our most listened episode.
And I don't think SoundCloud even had to promote it for us.
No, SoundCloud did not promote that episode. So all you people out there that have listened and enjoyed that episode, tell
you're welcome.
Tell your friends about us. Get them started on us. We love the listens and the viewership. So
and you can go back. You can find some of our favorite reviews that we've done so far. Creed 2, obviously, our Halloween review,
our Halloween discussion,
where we ranked all the Halloween films,
all of them.
It was fun.
And then we also had a shorter one on there. If you're new and you're not really sure, quite what we're about, you could tell your friends. We got a shorter episode. Got our Grinch review up. Mm-hmm. It's a short and sweet 17 or so minutes long. So
I think our next discussion episode will be really fun. Instead of doing 2 top 5, what I think we'll do is we'll rank all the Transformers films, and then we will rank all the Spider-Man films.
I like it
in order of.
So it'll be a nice long episode next week. So
and
got that to look forward to.
Plenty to talk about because I love Transformers and I love Spider. Even though I even like some Bayformers. I'll admit it.
That's fair. I can tell you what's going to be the very bottom Spider-Man movie though. Take a guess.
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You'd be correct. How'd you know?
Spoiler alert.
How'd you know?
Oh man, that movie sucks.
Oh, it's bad. But I think that's all we got for this week, right?
Yeah, gotta plug our social media sites that
Absolutely.
I sort of update every once in a while.
I try sometimes. It depends on how busy and how much I'm working, whether or not I'll get on Instagram. And
Although it
post
takes
something.
like all of 5 seconds.
5 seconds. But we're up on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can give us a like or a follow at all those. We are at DNA Film Wars, all lowercase, no space on all those.
And if you have any specific questions and or comments, you can always contact us at dnafilmwars@gmail.com.
100%.
We are up on all major podcatching services. This includes Spotify,
Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts,
iTunes.
iTunes. Well, it's Apple Podcast app or iTunes. It's all the same.
Yeah, whatever.
If you can't find us on one of those, or you choose not to listen to us on one of those, you can find us also on YouTube with our audio files.
Yep, which are soon to be video files.
Keep a lookout for video in the new year.
As always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan, and we'll catch you in the next one.